This is RadioOnFire.com. Yours truly, Diamond K, in here. Thank you for joining me. As you can see, I have a special guest, and we're going to get into all that good stuff. As I often say, 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, I'm here. And so I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on. My name is D.L. Lance, and I am the author of a book that's available on Amazon. It's called Veiled Vigilance, as Diamond K just told you. I don't know. You want me to tell you a little bit about me, or what do you want to do?
Well, I guess let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in New York City, actually, Brooklyn, New York, to be more specific, and even more specific in an area called Bedford-Stuyvesant. We never called it that. We called it Bed-Stuy.
Right. That's where Biggie's from.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I didn't know about that neighborhood until Biggie.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know.
Yeah, Mike Tyson grew up. I mean, a lot of folks.
I did. Oh,
yeah.
I did. Okay, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you grew up as an avid reader?
Not a little bit, but I got involved with athletics, and so that sort of took up a lot of my time. But I did do some reading, but I never considered writing. Actually, it was too tedious. It took a lot of work to actually write down. You agonize over every word, as you know, because you've written a book. So that agony was just too much for me. Yeah. So once I graduated from college, I got away from that and got into some other things, and actually became an air traffic controller. And so I did that until I retired from that 5 years ago.
An air traffic controller.
Air traffic controller.
So yes. That's actually directing the planes?
Yes, it is. In fact, I worked in a facility called the New York Tracon that is really the most complex and busiest facility in the world. Just to give you an example, 1 in every 6 flights that takes off anywhere in the world goes through New York airspace. So it's a very busy place.
Okay.
And it's always in the news whenever anything has happened. And I worked there for 20 years. Actually, going back a ways, some of your listeners might be a little older. They remember the strike. In 1981, there was an air traffic controller strike, and I was fired in that strike, along with 13,000 other controllers nationwide, and then wound up getting the job back under the Clinton administration in 1995, and continued from there until 2011 when I finally retired.
Wow! So that was under, like you said, under the Reagan administration.
That's right. That was Reagan, my guy, Ronald Reagan. Yep, that's him.
So you were there during 9/11?
Yeah, actually, I had taken that day off. I can give you a little background on that. This is my wife's birthday, and so I decided I was gonna have a plane fly her out east on the eastern end of Long Island, take her to lunch, and really do it up right. And I had coordinated with a local flight school. They were going to work with me because they knew I was a controller, and we were supposed to be out there at 10:30, and I'm in the gym working out, watching TV while I'm on the machine, and I see this plane go into the tower, and then I see the second one go into the tower, and I called them up and I said, is this going to affect us? And they said no, because I'd taken the day off. As soon as I hung up, they said they closed down the entire national airspace, and so I knew what that meant. That it was over. Everything was over then.
Yeah. Goodness.
So I didn't work that day, but I did work the next day, and it was like a ghost town because there's no one in the air except the military and rescue missions. So it was a pretty tense time.
So I guess the day before, and after that, it was a clear difference. It was never the same.
No, it was never the same. You had constant military traffic in the area. In the New York area, you never had that before. But you had constant military traffic in the area, new regulations that really were much more strict than had been in the past. Everybody was suspect. Every plane that wasn't on its proper course was now suspect. So it was a tense time. It was a tense time. It's since eased a bit in the sense that, when nothing has happened for a long time, people tend to relax, but the regulations are still in place.
Definitely. It's it's just for the people that are so young that they didn't fly during that time or remember. It probably just seems regular, but I remember flying my first flight. I flew to Detroit. My father's from Detroit, and we flew there for the summer a couple times.
Mhm.
And I remember that I had a toy gun. Now, this is going back like a cowboy type of outfit.
Mhm.
And they didn't let me take it on the plane, but I was able to take it all the way to the gate. And that would never happen.
No,
you remember
no,
those like
yeah.
silver kind of, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
never would
Yeah,
happen.
no. I used to take my kids, and of course I had a bunch of credentials.
Yeah.
So if my kids were flying, I would walk them all the way to the gate, and I'd even take them on the plane sometime. Even with my credentials, I can't get past security anymore. So
right.
Everything changed.
Yeah, my parents used to do that too. Yeah, without a ticket.
Yeah.
Be able to do that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming from New York,
Mhm.
how did you get to Baltimore?
Well, I was retired. I retired in 2011, and I have a friend of mine who happens to be a minister, and he was leading a church in New York, and he had been offered a job down here in the Baltimore area. And he asked my wife and I to go with him. And of course, at first we said, we're not, we're New Yorkers. We're not leaving. And we thought about it for a while, and we couldn't figure out a reason why we weren't going. And we had come down here a number of times, and we liked the area a great deal. And we said, you know what? It kind of doesn't matter where you die. So let's go. And we did.
A great attitude.
And it was an adventure. We sold our house and sold a bunch of stuff, and we moved on down. Yeah.
Didn't look back.
No, and we're very happy with the move.
Very good, very good. So you talked earlier about sports. What sports are you into?
When I was in college, I played basketball and baseball, and I always loved baseball. Was my first love. But after college, there's really no place to go unless you're going to turn pro, and I wasn't that good. So I started playing tennis, and I've been doing that for almost 40 years now, which is why I'm always limping around, because I play like I'm 18, or I run around like I'm 18, but I'm not. So my body lets me know that periodically.
So people probably underestimate the
they do.
Athletic ability needed for tennis.
And I take great delight in the youngsters who think that they can come out there and,
Oh, so that happens.
Oh, it happens. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So do you kind of turn it up like a little bit, like kind of fool them?
No, I bait them, because I tell them, listen, don't come out here with this weak stuff. If you do, that just infuriates them, and they show up, and then they get a spanking, because listen, if you're not playing this game regularly, like any other game, you're not gonna be that good at it. So
yeah. So you do that, like the slam.
Oh yeah. You hit it at them sometime,
That's funny. How good are the Williams sisters?
Serena Williams is the best female player ever.
Ever.
She's the best ever. She really is. She has the best serve ever. She's just the best ever, and she is so intimidating. Venus was that way too, but Venus is not the athlete that her sister is. So listen, Venus has had a Hall of Fame career. She's going to go in the Hall of Fame, but the illness that she developed, the Sjogren's syndrome, has slowed her up too. But at this point, Venus is 36. Serena's going to be 35. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been a 20-year run for the two of them. It's coming to an end, but Serena is still on top and still has probably got a couple of championships left in her.
Yeah, I always like to watch them play. Very inspiring, and you've seen the documentaries on them.
Yes, I have.
The father, it's nice
the
story.
father. I mean, listen, a lot of people criticized him when they first came up, but you can't argue with the results. This guy took two young girls in the inner city on a path that no one else had ever taken, because everyone goes through junior tennis and all. He took them essentially away from that and created two champions. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's phenomenal what he did.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, he has a dominating personality.
Yeah, he does.
And a lot of people didn't know how to take him. But so I mean, that's what we need. It's kind of, I guess it's not as bad as Joe Jackson, but
no, Joe gets a bad rap. But I will say this about Joe. He was successful in what he did. His tactics might have been a little questionable at times.
Gangster.
Yeah, a little bit. But you know what? He produced. Look what he produced in that family. I mean, that's a tremendous success story. Although, Joe might have backed off a little bit in some areas.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And so how do we get to the point where, you coming from the background with air traffic control and tennis and all of your sports, how did we get to the point where you became an author?
Well, okay. So I used to write for the school paper and in college, briefly. Worked on the sports page. But air traffic control has a mandatory retirement age. And at the time, this is about 10 years ago, gas prices were heading for $5, and I knew I had to retire, and I was scared to death. At the same time, I tore my rotator cuff, so I was laid up for about 3 months. I couldn't move, just sitting in a chair waiting for this thing to heal. So I started reading, and I read a lot of John Gresham. I read some Dan Brown, a couple of other things. And as I was reading them, I said, I think I could do this, because I remember how much I agonized when I was writing for the school paper. But writing a novel is different, because writing a novel, you can make stuff up. I mean, I'm lying. I can change it whenever I want to change it. And so I did. And so the only thing I had to worry about was syntax. I didn't have to worry about the actual story, because I could make that to be whatever I wanted it to be. And so what I did was I drew from my air traffic background with this book, Veiled Vigilance. It's really the story of a guy who's an air traffic controller in this busy facility in New York. And he's sort of a loner, and he's a great controller, but he's got a lot of personal problems. And he meets this woman who is captivating, and he falls in love with her. It turns out she's an immigrant, and her family is involved in some things that they should not be involved in, some nefarious actions. And so that's what it's about. It's about terrorism and air traffic control. And then the tagline is sort of, what if an air traffic controller who's on the inside gets involved in terrorism? And so it explores all of that. And because I have this background in air traffic, I know all of the inner workings of the system, and all of the technical workings of the systems, and how you can manipulate them, and what you can and can't get away with. And so all of that is incorporated into the book. It's fiction, but a lot of it could actually happen. It's actually, as I was writing it, I sort of scared myself a little bit, because I realized how much of this could actually happen.
That sounds like a movie to me.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And another thing that's really good about it is that you were saying, because you have such knowledge on it, how you see a movie and it's like, this doesn't seem realistic. How did this happen? That happened. And
right.
Somebody's writing about something that they don't really, the writer probably doesn't have that knowledge base, and you have that. And so the realism, I'm sure, is there.
Well, that's what I tried to do. I incorporated a lot of air traffic phraseology into the book, so that the dialogue is very much, well, it is exactly what goes on in an air traffic facility. And the characters, some of the supporting characters, are people who are sort of based on people I worked with, because it's a very there tends to be a lot of derisive conversation going on in between the air traffic instructions, and so a lot of that is in the book too. And I know a lot of people are fascinated by air traffic, so they would enjoy that part of it. And then there's a bit of a love story. It's a tragic love story, but then of course it's a lot of terrorism activity going on in there. And I don't want to give stuff away, but
absolutely, it
involves a lot of shenanigans that could really cripple not just the air traffic system, but the country.
It seems like something that should be on their radar. I don't know.
Yeah, but the FAA is a government agency, and we know the government is very slow to react to things, and so that's what they are. They are reactive as opposed to proactive. So stuff has to happen before they do something. It couldn't quite happen the way it is in the book, and I mean that to say I had to put in some obstacles that aren't even there now. So there's things that could happen now if people were aware of all of the inner workings. And this reveals some of that. So the FAA might be mad at me if they read the book.
Maybe, yeah. With with the book and the subject matter, is this something that is for adults, or is it, what's the age
Okay,
limit, really?
I'm glad you brought that up because I would have forgotten to mention that. It is definitely a book for adults. However, it's written without any explicit sex in it, without any profanity in it. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to create a genre that was for adults, but that adults could share with their younger children. When I say younger, I mean teenagers or
Right.
young adults, and they could read this kind of stuff together, and nobody had to worry about what the language said. You could, for instance, in a school, say we want to take this book and read it, and then we want to analyze it. You could have a book club and you could read it, and you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. I think there's a large audience for that kind of writing. And I think we've gotten away from it. Of course, it was something that existed 100 years ago because of censorship, but it doesn't exist now. And so there are very few books like that. In addition, not so much in this one, but as I said, I've written 3 books, and I don't know if I said that or not, but I have written 3. This is the first one published. The ethnicity of the characters is left a little vague because I want folks to use their imagination to create characters that they can relate to. So you know enough about the character internally, but externally, you sort of get a chance to formulate who they are. I mean, okay, they got curly hair, but that could be anybody. They're from New Orleans, but that could be anybody, you know. And I did that intentionally because I wanted people. I don't think we use our imaginations enough anymore. I thought it'd be good to get back to that.
That's interesting. That's interesting. A lot that doesn't happen a lot that way now. You know, I asked people about this, and no one seems to remember this. Hopefully, you will. There were a style of books that I remember. I guess maybe middle school, and you know, if you wanted a certain ending, you would turn to a certain page, and then it would kind of take you different ways. And if you had different things that you wanted the character to do, it would have you turn different ways. So maybe it was like 2 or 3 different possible endings. Yeah,
okay.
Do you remember that? You remember that?
You do? Okay. I don't. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't remember.
Yeah. I just and that was just it's random, I know, but it was just something that I was hoping somebody would remember other than me. I'm glad Greg remembers. So with the book, the next book that you release, is it part of this? Is it a series?
No, it's not a series. People have talked to me about that. I have some test readers, and they've talked to me about that. But no, the book that I would anticipate being released after this one has to do with government corruption and the elderly, because I'm part of a generation that's biggest generation in history, the baby boomers. And unfortunately, or fortunately for you younger folks, we're getting older and we're getting ready to check out.
Unfortunately.
Well, and so we are actually now making a huge impact on the medical system because now we're getting sick, some of us didn't take care of ourselves so well. And so we're getting sick, and it puts a real burden on the medical system. And it's about that, but it's about corruption within that. And I'll stop there. I'll wait for it to come out and give a little more away later. But
yeah, you touch on topics that are very, very relevant, and a lot of people don't touch on them. So that's
I try. What I always try to do is I try to write stories that are about every man, and then put him in extraordinary situations, and see what happens then. I'm not big on the superheroes, although that's a fine genre. But most of us are just regular people who are doing regular things, and the only time we do anything extraordinary is when we're forced to via extraordinary circumstances. So that's sort of what I try to do.
Wonderful, wonderful. How long did it take you to write your book?
Well, this one took about 2 years. I was working during part of it, so that's why that took 2 years. The first one took 5 years because I had no idea what I was doing. And so I just wrote, and then I had to get it edited, and I'm still going to work, and it went back and forth. And this one took 2 years, and the third one only took a year, which was, I I thought pretty quick. I'm committed now to not writing another word until I get some success out of what I've written.
So that means you're gonna work the circuit and really
yes.
Okay. As you said, the book is available on Amazon.
Yes, Amazon.com, Veiled Vigilance, or you can look it up under the author. You can look at my Facebook page, which is DL Lance, D as in David, L as in Lance, and then Lance. That's my name, and you can find it on Amazon. It's right there. It's an ebook right now. It's $7, so it's not going to break the bank. And if we can move enough of them, then I'll get it out in paperback. My publisher actually is in London. So that sort of retards the process of getting the paperbacks out. But we've talked about that, and hopefully that'll be coming soon.
Definitely. And so you're going to be at the African American.
I hope to.
Authors
Yes.
Expo?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
How did you find out about that event?
Well, you guys have a local artist here, a singer named Marcel Russell. Yeah, who is, I mean, he is, I just sit there in awe listening to Marcel. And he told me about the folks who run the African American Expo. So I gave him a call, and that's how I got hooked up with him.
Yeah, definitely got to shout him out. He went to Evanston. Got to shout him out. Same school I went to.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So he's good. But that Authors Expo, the African American Authors Empowerment Expo, that's a mouthful.
Yes.
October 15th, Morgan State University. So I'm actually hosting that event. So
I didn't realize that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be good. Not just because I'm going to be there, but it's going to be good. So you got a lot of authors up and down the East Coast, really around the country. And so it's going to be very good. So more details on that. I did want to ask you a little bit, election season here, obviously. Yep. Your thoughts on Donald Trump. I mean, because you're New York.
Yep.
He's New York. So you're voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Is it legal for you to ask me? He's a scary guy. He's a scary guy. I don't know that I can vote for him because, quite frankly, I'm afraid of him. I don't know what this man might do. The office tends to make people grow up. The office of president tends to make people grow up, but I'm not sure, and I don't think we can take a chance on that. Now, I have to say, it's not like I'm jumping up and down about Hillary Clinton. I'm not real fond of her either, but I am afraid of Mr. Trump. His rhetoric scares me. Now, maybe it's just rhetoric, but that's all I have to go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think a great deal of what he says is just rhetoric, but we just don't know which part.
Right, yeah.
Which part is? I mean, he lacks self-control. He no kind of coof, no class. He's just, yeah. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I have Donald Trump's resume. I like to show this to people. Donald Trump's resume is a blank piece of paper. He's never had a job. He's never had a job.
That's true.
How can we seriously hire someone he's never had a job?
Yeah.
In order to lead, you have to be able to follow. You have to be able to. He doesn't know how to do any of that. And he kind of fashions himself as self-made, but he's not self-made.
Mm-hmm.
He had a head start. He's not a politician, but the thing that is kind of popular now is the not being a politician and that whole maverick thing. But for this particular job, the highest job in this country, you need some credentials, which he doesn't have.
Yeah, I think it's an indictment of the people that are being put before us that he's where he's at.
Yeah.
Because you're right. He really has no credentials aside from the fact that the guy is very confident. I mean, his confidence is overwhelming. and it overwhelmed 17 other Republican hopefuls.
Which is
So
crazy.
yeah, it is. But it just shows you how far confidence can take you. I'm not sure that's the only criteria we need for somebody in the White House, though.
Yeah, we need a couple of other things.
Yeah, maybe.
It can work getting maybe a girlfriend. But
even that won't last with just confidence.
That might get you in a conversation. But they got on President Obama by saying he was a junior senator and he's just a community organizer. Right. At least he had that. Yeah. You know, Donald. I don't know. I can go on and on about Donald Trump, but I think that if there was ever a reason to get out and vote, this is the reason.
Yeah, and I don't know that we're going to get the turnout that we had, especially in 08.
Yeah.
When I remember I went to the polls in 08 and the lines were wrapped around the corner. Everybody wanted a piece of that election. I don't know if people are that tuned in this time around.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And we really should be. A lot of people are disenchanted with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and a lot of people seem like they want to just stay home and say I'm not going to vote at all, which is the worst thing, because that's how he can win. Because if the people who are not engaged with either candidate or even the independent candidates don't vote, then that's going to make the radical rednecks and whoever else supports Donald Trump, their votes count even more because we're not voting. Mm-hmm. And that's just a disaster. Hillary Clinton, flawed, but is a better choice than Donald Trump. She's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
No, I get what you're saying.
We know what she's gonna do. She's a politician without charisma, but we know what she's gonna do. She's sneaky. She's gonna lie, but I think she's gonna pretty much continue the things that President Obama has done.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Go the course.
Yes.
You know, she's gonna make money on the side and the foundation and all that. She's another New Yorker, sort of.
Well, she's not. She's kind of. We're not claiming her. No.
Y'all elected
we have to claim Trump because he's from there, but we don't have to claim.
Well,
that's Arkansas's problem.
Well, y'all did elect her.
Yeah, we did. That's true.
But I think she's gonna just do more of the same. But I don't know. Just if I wake up and Trump's the president, amazing.
That's a scary thought.
You remember when the birth certificate stuff was coming up and he was all yelling about I mean, secretly he probably was running back then, like, because he was trying to stay in conversations with the president. He shouldn't even been in the dialogue, but maybe he's smarter than I thought.
Well, I think he's a smart man. I'm just afraid of him.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So once again, how can people find out more information about you?
You can go online to and my Facebook page is DL Lance. I also have a Twitter account, which I need to spend more time and attention on. But you can also find the book on Amazon.com. It's Veiled Vigilance. As I said, it's an ebook. It's $7, so it's not super expensive. I think you'll enjoy reading it. I haven't met anyone yet that hasn't enjoyed reading it. So I think you will enjoy it. It's intriguing, a lot of insightful stuff about air traffic in there, and how the system can be worked against us. So,
definitely. Have you thought about doing an ebook? Have you thought about doing an audiobook?
I have. We haven't gotten to that yet, but I have thought about that.
I think that it would be good. And I think you should do it because you have a voice. I think would be good to explain it. I don't read as much as I like to, but I listen to probably 4 books a month.
Oh, really?
But I don't actually sit and have time to actually read as often as I like. But I mean, sometimes, and there's like 2 books I'm reading now on my phone when I get a chance to. But some people don't like the audiobooks. I love audiobooks. I mean, because I take them to the gym, car ride, all of that, and get through a lot of books. But ebooks, very convenient.
Yeah.
Your mobile device, people that take, long bus rides or train rides, just pop that on there. And
a lot of folks, as you said, at the gym too. I don't know how they do that, with the head bouncing up and down. But
yeah, well, I mean,
but they do
on
it.
a treadmill, you can do it on a treadmill.
I guess, yeah. I tried it. Didn't
Not
work
on
for
your
me.
phone.
But
Not on your phone. You got to have a tablet.
yeah,
A tablet. You can do it that way.
Yeah.
I have read parts of books on the treadmill, but like you said, Amazon.com, Veiled Vigilance.
Right. Veiled Vigilance. Right.
DL Lance.
It's me.
Once again, thank you for joining me. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Nope. I want to encourage everyone to buy the book because I benefit greatly from that. That's about it. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a great pleasure to be here tonight. Talk about our politics a little bit.
Absolutely.
Explain the book to folks. So thanks. Thank you very
Definitely.
much.
Thank you. And much success to you. Hope to see you.
Yes. In October. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when your next book comes out, please.
I absolutely will return.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned, y'all.